Let me begin with a very, very simple but unsettling question. Why do capable, intelligent, well intentioned people still keep struggling while other people who may not be more talented than them, they seem to be moving forward with ease? Same market, same pressures, same information, same data, but different outcomes. And the decisive factor is very rarely effort or intelligence. It is context. Context is the invisible operating system that you are living inside. And here is a very key insight. People don't act based on reality, they act based on the context that they are in. So once you can see this, leadership, productivity, and personal growth, they start making sense. Now, as you listen, notice what context might you already be living in. Think about it. Context is not content. Context is what happened, context is what it means, and context answers invisible questions that you carry. For example, what kind of world is this? What kind of a person must I be in this world? What is possible or dangerous right now? All that is going on in the background. Now, two leaders receive the same feedback. One person hears, I'm being supported. Another person hears, I'm being judged. Same feedback. Two people. One is thinking that I'm being supported. Another person is thinking I'm being judged. Same words, different nervous systems, different actions. So, from the lens of semantic transformation, meaning precedes behavior. So, whatever meaning you're giving to what is happening, what you're seeing, what you are listening to, that precedes your behavior. From the NLP point of view, your state determines access to capability. From the landmark or est standpoint, context creates reality. So, different languages, same truth. So, why context is so powerful and also hidden? You know that, right? You don't know it for sure. So, here's the trap. You don't usually see your context. So, if some of you are still, struggling with this, let me give you a small anecdote. Years ago, I would be going to a very big hospital in Delhi for the treatment of my late wife. Very busy place, surprisingly very, very efficient, even though it was a government run place, extremely efficient place. And I used to always marvel as to how they're managing it so well. But being an observer of human beings, I was watching different people at work over there. So there was this one guy who was a security guard. So I asked him, why do you come here? So he says, I come here to mark my attendance. So there was another guy who was a X-ray technician, and I found his work to be quite different from usual. So I asked him, why do you come here? So he says, I have a lot of responsibilities to fulfill, and I need money to do that. And I've got to do this job very good, in a very good way, so I can get increments and take care of my family in a better manner. And the third guy was the cashier over there. And I asked him, and I found him to be a very, very different kind of a cashier. Helpful, smiling, asking people, what else can I do for you, and that kind of a thing. So I asked him, sir, you're a very unusual man. Why do you come here? So he says, sir, whoever comes to this place, rich or poor, they are all in a lot of tension and sorrow. And God has given me an opportunity to serve them. So I will serve them to the best of my ability. Now, do you notice three people? They had a different context. And it was reflecting in the work that they were doing. So why context is so powerful? See, usually we don't see our context. You don't see your context. You assume that it's real. It just is there. I mean, you don't question it. You don't question whether, my background of thinking, is it right or wrong or whatever. It is the way it is. So context will often sound like this, life is hard. Some people's context is life. There is never enough time. If I relax, I will fall behind. Some people think if I must prove my worth. So from the access consciousness point of view, what you are not willing to question, you are willing to be controlled by. Now, since we don't know that our context is running our life, we don't question it. So it invisibly in the background, like an operating system, it keeps on controlling our life. And I'll tell you something from the leadership experience. People don't burn out from work. They burn out from the context they are working inside. So which sentence in your mind is quietly running you every day? For me, for a long time when I was a youngster, no, I better keep my boss happy. He must be happy today. Otherwise, if he doesn't like me, he will make my life miserable. That was running me. So, what is the sentence that is quietly running your mind? So, let me give you a practical scenario that I'd seen. Okay. In the area of leadership and performance. Now, one team member misses a very important deadline. Leader A has a context. He says mistakes means loss of control. And what does he do? He blames, he pressurizes, he starts getting into the micromanagement mode with that employee. And the result is that the team member is very fearful. He becomes, totally compliant. He doesn't want to take any initiative. He's just waiting to be told what to do. There is a leader B in that same situation. His context is mistakes are feedback. Okay. Therefore, his reaction is what he's curious. He wants to know what happened. He wants to inquire into it. He wants more clarity about why this man made this mistake, and he gets into a coaching and facilitating mode. And the result of this is that the employee is now learning. He's taking more responsibility and ownership, and systems start to improve. Same event, different leadership behavior coming from different context that they have, and therefore different performance outcomes. So I'm a part of Leadership Management International, and from the LMI point of view, leadership effectiveness is behaviorally observable. You can see context will decide behavior, and behavior will decide the results that are being produced. If you look at it from the productivity angle, and our favorite formula is capital P is equal to small p minus I. And for those who don't know, capital P means performance, small p means potential, I means interferer. Right? So context is the biggest hidden interferer. So when your context is urgency, you will always be in a rush. If your context is scarcity, you will always overcommit. If your context is survival, you will always be doing multitasking. If your context is to proving, you will overwork. You're never satisfied with what you're doing because you're afraid that they are never satisfied with what you're doing. And no amount of time management is going to fix that. Okay. If you remove the contextual interferer, productivity will increase without more effort. How do you like that? A life with less effort and less struggle, but producing more results, isn't it? So, how do you change your context? Now, most people try to change their behavior. It's like trying to change the outside without changing the inside. So they try to change their behavior. I must focus more. I should be more disciplined. I need better habits. And it doesn't last for very long. Have you noticed that? Because behavior comes afterwards, context comes first. So here is a very simple method to shift your context. So, first of all, identify and name the context. So, whatever behavior is being exhibited by you, ask a question, So, what must be true for me for my behavior to make sense? So, there's a certain behavior. For this behavior to make sense, what must be true for me? So, if I'm always disbelieving people and I'm not trusting people, what must be true for me that makes me behave like this? So if I'm always rushing, the context might be time is running out. I can relate with that at my age of 73. Sometimes I do feel life is running out. All right. Step number 2. So whatever it is that is running you in the background, you found it out, let us say, question it. Don't fight it. Don't judge it. Question it. Just ask. Whatever it is that I am believing, whatever it is in my background, is this the absolute truth or it is only a useful assumption? Just an interesting point of view. This will create some space for you. This will impact your behavior. Step number 3 is choose a new context. For example, instead of going on running this in the background that I'm behind, shift it to I'm in a process. So suppose what you're running in the background is I must prove myself. You can start to say my value is inherent. So instead of going on saying there is not enough time, you can start to say I choose what is important for me, what matters in my life. And remember one thing, you are the source of the context that you live in. It was you who created it with your, judgments, decisions, conclusions. And that became, from there came your context. So you are the source of the context that you live in. Therefore, you have a choice to change it. Now, as far as leaders and professionals are concerned, let's make this very, very practical this morning. Nice Monday morning. What context am I leading from this week? What is the context in my team that they are swimming in? What context is silently killing focus or morale of my team? So, one practical action that you guys can do at the start of a meeting, shift the context explicitly. Tell them this is a learning conversation. This is not about blame. This is not about blaming anyone. This is about clarity. It's not about speed. Create the context for the meeting. You could even say something, this meeting is, to discover something which we have not seen so far. So leaders who manage context, they reduce stress in themselves and others. They improve the quality of decisions and they increase execution without any pressure. Now that is real productivity, my friends. Wouldn't it be lovely if you became a context creator? Now, most people are context reactors. They are reacting from their invisible context. Very few people become context creators. Would you like to be one? If you do, Ask, no? What context would serve performance over here? What context would create ease and accountability? What context would allow people to bring their best to the table? Now, this is the conscious leadership. So, the most powerful person in the room is not the loudest person, it is the person who sets the context. There was a man called Mahatma Gandhi who set a context for the nation long time ago. We got our freedom after that. So let's close this session with this truth. And the truth is, your life is not shaped primarily by the circumstances, it is shaped by the context that you live inside. And the moment you see that, you gain some choice. So before you go, I invite you to reflection and conversation. Yeah, you can comment in one sentence, what context are you living in? What part of this conversation landed most strongly for you? What new context would you like to experiment with this week? You can share all that in the comments and you can share it with me in a little while. So you're not here to impress anyone. You're not going to comment to impress me or anyone else, but to acknowledge it for yourself. Because naming it creates awareness, awareness creates choice, and choice creates change. Thank you for listening. And remember, context is decisive. And now you can choose it.